Okay, today we are going to be going over the CC1 3.2.2 review and preview for problem 106. Find the missing value in each number sentence. So I'm going to look at this first one. I have 4 minus 3.5 plus 3.5 minus 1. Now, if you remember, when we were talking about opposites, if I go one place and go backwards the same amount, I end up back where I started. In this instance, if I subtract something and add it right back in, I end up back where I started. So this is the same thing as saying 4 minus 1, which is 3. I could do the math. It would be 4 minus 3.5, which is 0.5. Plus 3.5, which is 4, minus 1, which is still 3. So it doesn't matter which way, but if I'm paying attention to what's happening in the expression, I might understand that I can, it's almost like skipping a step without skipping a step, because I recognize that there was an opposite that happened. Okay. Next problem. Part B, -2 plus 4 plus 4. For this one, I'm going to use a number line. I start at -2 and I go 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I add 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I end up at 6. Okay, 5 1/3 minus 7 minus 5 1/3. So I can look at this and say, okay, look, I have another set of opposites here. I start here, and later I subtract that same number, which means that I start at 0, or am at 0. Don't start at 0. I start at 5 1/3. Which means that I could argue that this term in the middle, minus 7, that's my answer. But I can double check to make sure that I am right. So, to do that, 5 1/3, I want to convert it to an improper fraction. So 5 times 3 plus 1, 16/3. Minus 7 is 7 over 1. I want to make an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 7 times 3 is 21. So 16 minus 21/3 plus, or minus 5/3. Sorry, not plus. Minus 16/3. Okay. 16 minus 21. Well, that's going to be 5. It takes 5 to get to 21 from 16. But because I'm subtracting a larger number from a smaller number, it's going to be negative 5. Okay, which leaves negative 5 minus 16. Now I'm going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's the same thing as saying, well, I'm adding negative 16. So 5 plus 6 is 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. And that negative, because I know I'm subtracting, it's going to keep getting more and more negative. So it's negative 21/3. If I look here, I will know that 21/3 is also the same as saying 7. So the answer is negative 7. Okay, problem 107. Find common denominators and calculate each of the following sums. So I have 4 and 8. And I have 5 and 3. Okay, 4 and 8. I'm going to count by 4s first. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 8, 16, 24, 32. Well, my first one that's common happens to be 8. So my common denominator for this fraction is going to be 8. Three-eighths is already out of 8, so I don't have to change that fraction. 1/4, though, I need to make an equivalent fraction. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. 3/8 plus 2/8 is 5/8. Now for my 5s. So I can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I see one in common. It is 15. So my new fractions are going to be out of 15. In this case, I have to change both of them. So I have 2/5. I know I'm multiplying it by something. And the denominator has to be 15. And same thing with 1/3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Because it's a giant 1, 3 needs to go into the numerator. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 5 is 5. And that gives me 11/15. What is the least common multiple of 8 and 4? This is part B. Well, for 8 and 4, the LCM is 8. Sorry about that. For 5 and 3, the LCM is 15. Explain how finding the least common multiple of two numbers can help you add fractions. Well, when I was doing this problem earlier, I was going too quick and I found that the common denominator was 30 when really it's 15. Because of that, I ended up having to simplify my fractions. So, finding the least common multiple would have prevented that because I know 30 goes into both 5 and 3. But if I had found the 15 first, I would not have had to simplify. So, it might make it so we don't have to simplify our fractions at the end. Or at least it helps. Okay, moving forward. Part A, 5 minus 2. We need to use the vertical number lines to show the solutions to the problem. So for part A, I'm going to find 5, subtract 2. I'm landing at 3, so 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 plus 1. So I find 2, so 1, 2. And I add 1 to get to 3. Part C, show how to find -3 plus 4 minus 1 on a number line. I drew a number line in. I'm going to find -3. That's my starting point. I add 4, so I go to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. And then I subtract 1 to end up at 0. Now, Rachel said that -4 minus 3 ends up being positive because 2 negatives always give a positive. So if I still use my a number line, okay, and I start at -4. Okay, so I'm going to start at -4, just right here. I'm going to subtract 3. Now, if we remember, subtraction makes me go to the left. So therefore, if I subtract 3, I end at -7. Rachel, when we're adding and subtracting, the negatives here aren't close together. So in order for the negatives to become a positive, I have to have them like this. Okay, or if it was 4 minus -3. Okay, see how those negatives are close together like this? Because this is -4 minus 3 and there's integers in between, we do not need to think of it as a positive. Okay. Problem 109. The yearbook staff at Jefferson Middle School has been busy taking pictures. Of the 574 pictures the staff members have taken, only 246 of the pictures will make it into the yearbook. Approximately what portion of the pictures that were taken will make it into the yearbook? Use a complete portions web to show your answer. Portions web, fractions at top, decimal and percent. So my fraction, so there were 574 photos taken. Only 246 of those are going to make it into the yearbook. So I need to divide 246 divided by 574. Okay, so grabbing out a calculator that you can't see. So it is 246 divided by 574. I'm going to get a really long decimal. I'm going to go to the thousandths place. So 0.428. As a percent, that is 42.8%. That is what portion of the pictures that were taken that are going to make it into the yearbook. Okay, last problem. Problem 110. Carefully copy the graph and point A on a piece of graph paper. I have done that for you here. Plot the points listed below and then connect them in the order given. So just like our coordinate graphs. And then we need to connect point D to point A. So A is already drawn for you. So 2 to the right, up 3. For point B, I go to the 3, and I go up to the 7. Okay. The next one, I go from the 7 up to a 7. And for part D, I go over to 8 and then up 3. I'm going to redraw that. And then I'm going to connect the lines or the dots in the order given. And then connect D to A. Okay. And I'm going to label my points. Part B says, well, what is the name of the shape you drew? Well, it has 2 parallel sides. This is a trapezoid. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to